One of the fantastic resources that we have available to us as Modo artists is the Mesh preset library that comes with every installation of Modo. I have mine already set up, and you can gain easy access to that Mesh preset library inside of the layout interface. It's down here at the bottom. I'm in the meshes category here, and you can see all these folders. And we're going to use some mesh presets to very quickly help us create a fantastic science fiction turret. You're going to find all that information inside of the vehicle section, spacecraft, and then here are all the parts and pieces that you're more than welcomed and encouraged to use to help you very quickly create your fun little turret. Now, I think, let me just magnify this a little bit, make it easier for you guys to see. I think what I'm going to do is use, let's see, I'm going to use this guy down here, Space Turret 003. When you're working inside the layout interface, double-clicking on any one of these presets is automatically going to add it or apply it to our scene, and there is my groovy little turret. So mission accomplished. Till we're done with the layout tab, let's go over into the setup tab and begin the construction of the rig for our fun little turret. Now, whenever we design a rig, we need to be laser focused and very quickly understand what we're trying and what we're asking the rigging system to create for us. We need to have an understanding of what the goal of the rig is first. Okay, now the goal of my rig here is to be able to shoot down a little enemy incoming alien invader, a spacecraft, if you will. And so I need to ensure that all the components of my model are dialed in and set up before I start rigging. So do some analysis, do some deconstruction of the mesh before you get going. I can very easily see that the guns of my little turret are facing the wrong way. They're over there. If you look at the global orientation of the XYZ axis as illustrated by the center point down here, my guns are facing the wrong way. Now, there are a lot of ways that we can fix this with rigging tools, but often what I like to do is try to fix it with the easiest tools that I have at my disposal. And in this case, since I haven't rigged anything, I'm just going to select the polygons associated with each one of these pieces, and I'm just going to rotate them 180 degrees. Sometimes the easiest solution is the correct one. I can't forget all this jazz down here at the bottom. And now I'm just going to rotate these 180 degrees, something like that. Now, what I'm going to do, I hit the undo key here real fast, because once I started rotating it, they rotated off axis, and I don't want it to rotate it off axis. So what I'll do here is that I'll change my action center to origin, and now when I rotate it, it should keep its relative position, to the base of the turret itself. Awesome. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's turn our action center back off, and we're on our way. Now, let's also define what we want the rig to do itself. I have a base here. I have what would be like the middle section of my turret in here, and then, of course, I have the gun section up in here. And what would be cool is if we try to infuse a little bit of movement inside of the totality of my rig. So maybe the base is going to be stationary. This middle section will only rotate around the y-axis, and then this guy in here, basically the guns, it'll rotate around the x-axis, basically going up and down, if you will. So I need to break this model up into 3 separate pieces, because remember, all animation and all rigging happens at the item level. Let's go ahead and do it real fast. Let's just start naming things. We'll name this base, and grab all the polygons on my space turret here that are going to be in the base, which are just those, I think. And we'll do Command X to cut, go to the base, Command V, rock and roll. And now we'll add a new mesh item into the mix. This is going to be, let's name this one middle. Awesome. And we'll go return to our top piece here. Grab all the polygons that represent the middle, which I think I may have snagged all of them. That's good. Yep. Again, I'll do Command X to cut, place them in their own item, paste them in. Wonderful. And we're on our way. Now we've separated. Let's just name this top, just so we're kind of maintaining our naming convention here. Okay, wonderful. This is starting to look very, very good. Now that we have everything broken out, the next thing that we have to do is go in and figure out where we want all the center points to reside. Because as you remember, the location of the center point is the most critical portion inside of our rigging system. It defines where the movement's going to take place. So let's start with the base, and let's get this in kind of a logical order here. Base, middle, top. Let's start with the base. Now, the location of the center point for the base is probably exactly where I want it to be. Yep, I'm liking that. Let's go to the middle. Now, for the middle, we probably want to make sure that the rotation of the middle happen at the base of all of these polygons in here. Now, I like to have the center points localized to a certain degree to where that mesh item or where those mesh components are on the actual item itself. Let's turn off the top and turn off the base and look at it. There's the middle section, and here's what I want to do. I want to move that center point to perfectly align itself to the center of that edge selection. Now, there's a couple ways we can do this, but here's the easiest way. I'm going to, with that edge loop selected, I'm going to change the I'm going to align my work plane to this selection. And then let's go grab my center point. Whoop, there it is. And then under the setup section, where we're going to go is that we are going to set the location of our selected component to the work plane. Boom. Wonderful. Now I'm done with the work plane. I'll reset it and check it out. Awesome. Our center point's been moved, and it's going to rotate perfectly where we want it. We're going to do the exact same thing for the top as well. This time, however, I'm going to leave the visibility of that middle mesh item on so I can see precisely where I want that element to go. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some judgment calls here. Where do I want this thing to rotate around? Let's see here. Maybe it's definitely going to be one of these edge loops in here. Yeah, maybe what we have, maybe where we have this thing rotate is between the center of the selected edge loop and the center of this selected edge loop. So right there in the center. Or you know what? We'll just keep it easy. We'll have it be right there in the center of that. We'll align the work plane to that guy. Wonderful. Go back into centers. Once again, we're going to set the work plane or set the selected component to the work plane position. Reset our work plane. And let's test the rig. Make sure life is good. Item transform. Yeah, that's not too bad. Now, the problem that we're running into right now is that if we do that, if we really tip our turret down, we're going to get some cross penetration on the model itself. And now that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if we turn on the base of our model, well, the tip of our turret is never going to be further below than the level of our base here. That would mean our gun barrels are in the ground. If this was positioned on top of a rock or on a spaceship or on a building or something, we'd be firing into the object that the base would be attached to. So that's not a big deal. Let's go the opposite direction. If we did that, if we did something like that, is the cross penetration of the mesh going to be a showstopper for us? And I think it is. If you look at that, now we're getting some visible cross penetration. So we need to adjust the location of rotation, or maybe even just adjust where this item is currently residing inside the scene itself. What if we experimented here? What if we moved this back a little bit? Yeah, that's better, I think, because I'm never going to rotate it much more than that, perhaps, to get what I want. Yeah, that's acceptable penetration. That's good enough for government work, as they say. Okay, I'm happy with that. Sometimes just looking at your model and experimenting with its extents gives you a much better understanding of where or what we need to do to continue rigging this element out. Now, another thing that we've done here is that we've changed the location of all of these items' center point and their relative position inside the scene itself. So if you look at the base, its resting pose is 0, 0 on the position, 0 on the rotation, and of course 100 degrees or 100% on all three of our scale channels, which is what we want. I need to ensure that all of the rest of the items inside of my rig here are getting the exact same attention. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I want to make sure that these are all zeros. If I was to zero them out, ooh, yeah, that's not what I want. You can see that my middle part of my turret is now buried inside the base, so that's not the option that we're after. However, what we want to do is inside of this pulled on menu right here, we're going to zero out all of our position values. Now, what this does is that it doesn't move the polygons, and it makes the computer believe that the current location of this item is the resting pose, which is exactly what we want. We're going to do the exact same thing for the top. So I'll go in here. I want to zero out all of my position information, and now we're good to go. Now we have built in a default resting pose. If we wanted to reset our animation, it'd be very easy to do so by placing a 0 value for position, rotation, and 100% on all three of the X channels, which is very, very cool. Okay, now that we've set up the basic model for rigging, let's actually do some rigging because we have a lot of work left in front of us. Let's first create the hierarchy here. I want to be able to create a parent-child relationship between the base, the middle, and the top. Wherever the base goes, I want all three of these other elements to follow along with it. So we'll just select these, do a little parenting, take the top, parent it to the middle. Now, if I was to move the base, yep, everything comes along for the ride. However, I still have complete control. Yep, there we go. Liking it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, another option that you have here is to do a position constraint and then maybe offset the models from the base's center point. It's a little bit more work, but there could be some benefits of that later on down the line. Okay, now we need to start working on the rotation. The position values have been established by the parent-child relationship in the hierarchy of elements that we've created in our item list, but I want to be able to automatically rotate this turret to follow a target in the air. Let's get the target kind of zeroed in first. Let's add a locator to our scene. This is going to be our target. This is going to help us test our rig. And let's have some fun with this. Let's go into the shape locator properties. We'll add a custom shape. And we'll do, I don't know. Let's do a circle. There it is. And let's do this. We are going to add our, accidentally selected off of it. There it is. And we're going to go into our shape properties here. The style is going to be replaced. I misspoke. Didn't want to do that. And under the display values, let's just turn off the visibility of the center points. There we go. Let's add some color in here. Draw options. The fill color will be a user value. It'll be a nice shade of red because targets need to be red, right? And also in the locator properties here, let's make it a big so we can really see it. Wonderful. Okay, so there's my target. All right, now we have something for my little turret to shoot at. Awesome. Let's get it closer so we can see both the turret and the locator in the frame at the exact same time. Okay, so now we need to start establishing some rotation parameters that's going to get the guns of my turret to automatically fire at my target, or at the very least, point at my target. Now, I think for this one, really what I want to do here is do a directional constraint. I want to constrain this item to this item. In every sense, I want my guns to always point at my target. So this is going to be the child of our relationship. So I'll select the target second. And then under my modifiers tab, let's just do a directional constraint. Aha, wonderful. And there it goes. Now, if I grab my target, fire off the item transform tool, aha, it's always moving like that, which is kind of cool. Now, up and down along the y-axis is looking pretty fantastic. I want my guns of my turret to move up and down when I move it like that. However, when I move it from side to side, what would be really neat is to be able to have this portion of my turret automatically rotate. So we need to turn off the rotation values for the directional constraint along the left to right, along the x-axis for our guns. And we can do that really easily. Let's go into the directional constraint that's moving the top of our turret. And we're going to add some output options. And we're basically going to turn off the X rotation. There we go. Oh, not X rotation, excuse me. It's Y rotation. Fantastic. Wonderful. Yes. Now, if we move this thing up and down, wonderful. Okay, and we're getting the movement that we want because we only want the turret to move up and down to the target. The middle section is also going to get a directional constraint to that guy. So let's do it real fast. Start selecting them. There's the child. There's the parent. We'll do the directional constraint. Yeah, you can see what we've created so far. A little bit of a nightmare here. We don't want to be tipped up like that. So once again, we'll go back into the constraint that's moving moving the middle. And we'll turn off, we'll add some output options down here at the bottom. And we're going to turn off, I think it's the X. Yeah, there we go. Wonderful. Now, when we move this, when we move it up and down, just the top part of our turret moves. If we move it left to right, just the middle part of our turret moves. And that's exactly what we're after. Wonderful. Pretty cool. I like it very much. Now, in order for us to continue working on this guy, we're going to have to add some additional components, but I'm going to let you figure that part out. I'm not going to take you all the way on this one. The rest of the rig that we'll have to create for our turret is pretty easy to create. I want some bullets flying out of our turret. I can do that with some path constraints. I can even do a position constraint of our target onto the actual alien spacecraft as they're walking, they're attacking our little city or what have you. I'll let you figure out the rest to complete this rig, but this should get the ball moving. This, at the very least, should get some movement that you can use to help create the final animation for your homework assignment.